Hello everyone, and this is Fahim bin Amin. Today I'm gonna talk about the arrays in Java. So first of all, let me simply declare my public class, and that is public class main. And this is my main method, which is public static void main string of an array. All right, and let's say I'm simply declaring an integer variable. Let's say integer mark, and let's say I'm gonna give it something like 98, and if I simply print it, then I would get this mark in my console, or you can say in the terminal, right? Okay, so let's say this is the mark for my English exam. All right, and let's say I want to store more marks. Let's say integer mark 2, 100, integer mark 3, let's say something like 85, integer mark 4, let's say 89, or something like that. So you see, if I want to store more integer data, I have to create multiple integer variables for that. All right, so what about like this? Let's say I'm telling you that I want to store 100 integer data. So you can tell me that we need 100 individual integer variables, right? So in that case, you have to declare 100 integer variable. That would be a huge task to do, right? But as all of the variables data type are the same, and that is they all are integer data types variable. So I can wrap them up into a nice thing, and we call that array. In array, we can create multiple variables of a single data type. All right, so you can create an array of integer, you can create an array of float, you can create an array of string or something like that. But for now, as I'm going to simply show you how arrays work in Java, I'm going to keep it simple, and I will simply use the integer arrays. All right, so let me simply remove all of these from here, and let me show you how to declare an array. So first of all, I need to provide the data type, and for this is integer, and after providing the data type, I have to use a square bracket. A square bracket for 1D array. I know you might get confused. What is 1D array? So is there any other arrays like 2D array, 3D array, 4D array? Yes, there is. Yes, there are. But I'm going to talk about them later. For now, simply keep it easy and keep it simple like I am showing you. So I'm simply declaring the data type of the array, and that is integer, and I am also stating a square bracket to specify that, hey, this is an integer array. All right, and then I have to provide the name of these array variables. So for now, let me keep it something like marks. You can also keep it mark, but plural sounds good because in array we keep multiple values, right? So let's keep it generic and use the plural form. All right, and new, then equal new, then the data type again, and in this I have to provide the size of the array, like how many distinct variable I want in that array. Let's say I want 10 variables, 10 integer variables to store in this marks array, so I'm gonna name it 10. And keep in mind, array always starts from index 0. So here it would create 10 variables, and those will be something like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If we start counting them from 0 to 9, we would get 10 distinct different variables. All right, so if I want to store values in them, I can do that manually if I want. Let's say I'm gonna keep the value here, let's say 98, and in the one index number 1, I'm gonna keep let's say 87 or something like this. You can do that. If you want to print the value for this specific marks 0, so we can simply use a print statement, and I can simply provide this variable name. But in this case, keep in mind that this is a part of this marks array, and we have to specify the index number as well. For example, in index number 0, I have stored 98, but in index number 1, I have stored 87. So if I simply run this, you see I'm getting 98, which I have stored in 0 number index. But let's say I'm gonna print something like marks and 5. You see, I haven't specified any value for marks 5, but as I haven't specified any value to marks 5 yet, Java automatically puts 0 in that position. So if I simply run this, you see for the marks 0 the value is 98 as usual, but for the marks 5 the value is 0 because I haven't specified any value earlier. I haven't initialized any value. But let's say after this I'm gonna store value 54 here, and if I simply want to print the value after that, you would see the differences. For example, the value of marks 0 is 98, right? The value for marks 5 is 0. Why is that? Because before this print statement I haven't initialized a value for marks 5. So by default Java puts 0 there, and I'm getting 0 as the output. But after that I have specified that marks 5 has the value 54 in it. So if I simply print this, now I'm getting 54 in the console, or you can say in the terminal, right? And let me show you something more different things. For example, let's say I want to print a value which index is out of the range. For example, as I have created the array of size 10, I can store values in, starting from index 0 till 9. But what if I want to print value which is not in this scope, which is not in this array? Let's say 15. Let me show you what it gives. If I simply run it, you see this is giving me an exception, that is array index out of bounds exception. I know that exception term seems complicated and new to you. That is natural. Don't worry about that. Exception means something bad happened in this code and it got a failure message. All right, it got an error. And this exception is the way of Java to tell us that an error has been occurred. Which error has been occurred? Array index out of bound exception. Array index out of bound means this index is out of the range of that array. I know this exception is new, but don't worry about that because I'm going to talk about this exception in another video in details. But simply keep in mind that exception is the way Java tells us that an error has occurred. All right, and later we do something to handle those error, and I will show you those later. All right, and let's say instead of doing this, all right, let me make it simple. So let's say I'm gonna declare a new integer array, for example, like integer my array equal to new int, and for this time I'm gonna keep it very small, and let's say size string. And here in index number 0 I am going to say 50, and in index number 1 I'm going to store 80, and in index number 2 I'm going to store 100. Now if I want to print the entire array, you might say that I can simply use the print statement. Let me show you. So let's say I am simply passing my whole array into this print statement, and if I simply run this, it won't print the array. Instead of printing the array, it would print an address. it would print an address in which address the value of my array is located. But keep in mind that this address might get different result. I mean, if you run this code into your machine, you might get different result. Don't panic. That is natural, because the memory location in my PC and the memory location of your PC might be different, and that is normal. So therefore it simply returns an address, or you can say a memory location, in which memory location this whole my array is being located. All right, so we don't want to print the location. So how can we print the entire array using println method? We can simply call the toString method. So that would be arrays dot toString. And you see, whenever, let me show you again. I'm calling the, let me disable delete those imports. So let me simply declare the arrays method. If I simply use tab or enter, you see that it has provided me an import statement. This import statement is the indicator that helps it to identify where this arrays method is located. For example, it is located inside the Java, inside the util, and inside the arrays directory. So whenever Java starts compiling this, it would get these arrays and it would understand that it is already in our scope. It is already defined or stated inside Java util and arrays directory. So it knows, or it would know what it need to do for us when it gets this, right? So arrays dot, don't worry about this. I'm gonna talk about this later in my other videos. Obviously, I'm simply trying to publish content sequentially so that it helps you understand it. All right, so arrays dot toString, and inside this argument I'm gonna pass my array variable. And if I simply run this, you see I'm getting this. I'm getting everything sequentially. For example, if I keep, if I don't store any specific value in a uh, index position, it would by default provide me 0, because Java initiates 0 by default if we don't specify any values beforehand. All right, so there goes our arrays. Keep in mind that the thing I have taught you today, we call it the 1D array, and that specifies one-dimensional array. So in the next video, I will definitely talk about the 2D array, and that is two-dimensional array, too short 2D array. All right, let me show you something more. For example, if I want, I can also declare array differently. Let me simply comment this out. And for example, let's say integer, then my new array equal to, if I simply use the curly braces, I don't necessarily need to specify the size explicitly, because it would get what elements are there in the curly braces, and it would get the length of that array from there. So for example, let's say 5 2 9 6. I have stored only 4 values in this array, but I haven't specified the size. But as I have initialized all of these values altogether into this declaration statement, it would get that this my new array contains only 4 elements, and therefore the size of this my new array should be 4. If I simply print this like this, my new array dot length, you see that it's printing 4, because the length of this my new array is 4 and it has exactly 4 elements. And if I also want to print the entire array, I can obviously do that. Arrays dot toString, and then my new array. And if I simply run this code, you see the output, right? So That's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to let me know in the comment section, and if you want, you can follow me in GitHub, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I will provide all of the link in this description box. And don't worry about the code, because I'm gonna provide the code in the description box anyway. So that's it for today, and most probably I will see you in another video. Till then, take care and ta-ta, bye bye.